All right, we are being joined by Jake Hager. He returns to the Bellator cage tomorrow night as we record. Bellator 250 is going to face fellow unbeaten fighter Brandon Calton. Very busy man these days. We're happy to be joined by Mr. Hager right now. Jake, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me. Excited to be on Bellator 250. It's going to be a great card from top to bottom, especially those heavyweight bouts.
Absolutely. All weighed in at a slim trim 253.2. And now it's just time to rest, focus, and get ready for the fight. And it's interesting because this is only your fourth MMA fight. You've been competing most of your life. You've been in the pro wrestling world for a long time now as well. What are these next 24 hours or so going to be like for you getting ready for an MMA fight? Are there nerves? Is it very relaxed? How would you describe it?
I try to really stay calm before the storm. I think it just helps me. You could waste a lot of energy. Your nervous system could waste a lot of energy with anxiety. Your whole camp, you plan on peaking at the right moment. And so this is just another part of that. You want to, rest and really peak tomorrow. For me, I'm a creature of habit, so I like to do everything I did the day before the last fight. And so I try to recreate certain things as much as possible. If I watch the movie with my team that night, we're gonna do the same thing tonight. So it's pretty boring, actually.
Yeah, I mean, some fighters look at things differently. So I figured you probably have a more relaxed approach since, your career, your competitive nature. I mean, you've been in these spots many times before, maybe not with getting punched in the face that often, but from wrestling and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's one of my biggest assets in MMA. I may not have the cage experience. I may not have the amateur record. But I have over 1,000 amateur wrestling matches. I have over 10 years of live experience on TV, and that really helps me know when to start warming up and when to perform at a high level.
I watched the live stream of the weigh-ins or the ceremonial weigh-ins on the Bellator Instagram page, and you guys were squaring off, and I could see your face in the back of your opponent's head during the face-off. It looked like you were saying something to Brandon, and because I saw the mask moving a little bit right around where your mouth we would be able to see that. Did you say anything to him?
Well, he said something to me, and it was actually quite funny. I had on all white Chuck Taylors, and he walked up, and in his meanest voice, he said, "I like your shoes." And so, and in my meanest voice, I said, "My wife dresses me."
That is hilarious, man. That's so funny.
That's really what happened.
That's hilarious. It's so you mentioned your last fight, you like to try to mimic things that you did to stay comfortable. This is going to be your first fight in over a year. The last one didn't really go as planned because it was stopped in a little under 2 minutes and it was deemed a no contest after a pair of unintentional groin strikes. How excited are you to just get back in there and try to get that bad taste out of your mouth and show the evolution of your game?
Yeah, I'm excited to get back in there. I don't have any regrets or a bad taste in my mouth from the last fight. I went in there and did exactly what I wanted to do. I was dominating. Definitely learned from the mistake. I think it was only one groin strike, but we won't be picky. It's one of those things where you either love it or you don't. And, training camp always sucks. It's always hard, but that's where you win the fight. And so I really look forward to tomorrow night. You will see a big smile on my face because I've been working really hard, and we're ready to show the world even more how far we come and how dangerous I can be.
I was telling you off air the last time we spoke, you were a free agent in the wrestling business. You were on the Independents. I interviewed you for a local radio station in Pittsfield, Massachusetts, before a Northeast wrestling show at the ballpark here. Since then, I mean, you're now with AEW. You're on television Wednesday nights on TNT. You're in the mix of a Wednesday night wrestling rivalry of sorts with NXT. This has to be cool for you because, one, you get to be part of something different and fresh in the wrestling business, but also you get some of the nostalgia of the old Monday Night Wars since you missed out on that by a few years. How have you enjoyed this next chapter of your career?
It's been incredible. I feel very lucky to work for two incredible companies such as Bellator and AEW. I consider this last year of my wrestling career the best of my career. It's definitely been the most enjoyable, most rewarding. Being able to work with Chris Jericho, He's always been the greatest, but really when everyone's accepting him as the greatest right now, it's really awesome to work with him. And the refreshing thing is astronomical. I think you see it in all the performances at AEW. Tony treats us like athletes, and we appreciate that. And it's just so cool to, you know, your success always is determined upon your hard work. And then at AEW, I think Chris really said it best, is like, you want to be successful? I was like, well, how creative can you be? And instead of like blocking you or like shooting down millions of ideas that probably could work, they're really good at, AEW is really good at giving you the resources you need to succeed and like give the fans what they want, which is something new, something fresh. I got into pro wrestling really heavily during the original Monday Night Wars. I was in 7th, 8th grade, NWO, Wolfpack, all the way. And so to be a part of this new whatever competition they're calling it, it is really cool. Competition makes everyone better. And the fans end up being the real winners because they have great choices everywhere. I feel so blessed again to be a part of the pro wrestling industry now, and Bellator and MMA, because both industries are peaking right now. MMA is so popular. Pro wrestling is even more popular than the 1980s, I would argue. And so it's really cool and an honor, because I love both of it. And to do this for a job and a living, I feel very blessed. There's thousands of Americans, millions of Americans who really have to struggle and are going through a tough time right now. And so hopefully the little form of entertainment that I provide does help.
Obviously, that has kept you very busy during, like you said, a very tumultuous year, COVID-19, the pandemic. Plus, you know, it's nice that the events take place in your home state of Florida, so that has to be nice too. But, you know, things have obviously opened up a little bit more now, and some places are closing a little bit. But was it a bit of a struggle early on to, you know, in the MMA side of it, to get with your team, get with your coaches, to get training in?
The hardest part for us was finding training partners. I'm a heavyweight, and so finding big guys to roll with is always a task. We had the facilities. We had multiple facilities that we could use. So it was really just training partners. And I feel so lucky again that I had all my guys come in, and like, you know, we had our ups and downs where we had to do cancels and, you know, a lot of solo practices, but they really stuck by me and really gave me their time and gave me their hard work when they could. And I'm very fortunate for them.
You were supposed to fight in May, right? Before that event was scrapped?
Yep. I was on the May 9th card originally, and it was one of the first ones to get canceled. So since then, it kind of worked out. We had the Stadium Stampede in between, so I was able to go right into that and keep going with AEW. But all the time, we've been seriously somewhat in camp since then.
Were you able to get like I mean, you're always training and working, but were you able to get like a decent sized training camp in for this one? Because we know how Bellator can be. Pen goes to paper. We don't hear about it for at least 2 or 3 weeks. How long of a notice did you have for this one?
I think I had about 6 to 7 weeks. I've known probably since August that October was going to be the date. It did get a little late before we actually did finalize it, like you said, but I had a ballpark idea that sometime in October was, so we started preparing early, like we do. I'm an old guy, so I got to start early.
Did you know much about Brandon when you first got? I mean, he just turned pro this year, 5-0 AMI run. He's got 2 quick finishes this year. I believe all of his finishes are via strikes. Have you been able to check him out at all, or do you let Josh Rafferty and your coaches kind of do that scouting for you?
No, I think in this day and age, you know, video is so easily to come by. You know, of course we check him out. He's a big, super heavyweight. He's going to be all of 265. I didn't see what he weighed in today yet, but I thought he looked great. He looked more in shape than he did in the last fight that I saw. He said in multiple interviews that conditioning is not going to be a problem. So I'm taking this as it's going to be a hard fight. He's a big country boy. I think he has 7 amateur fights so he's on a 9-fight win streak. Big, proud country boy. He's going to give me everything he has. And it's going to be a fight. I look forward to it.
Used to play in the NFL too. He's on the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know that?
I did not. See, he's going to be a good athlete in there and really be moving around. I'm going to have to focus on my training, get my jabs going. Can't stand in front of him because he's going to be throwing those hammers at me. Footwork is going to be key.
From a competitive perspective, and I mean, surely from a fan's perspective, this card is massive. The main event, the super fight between Gegard Mousasi and Douglas Lima for the middleweight title. I mean, you've been a part of some big ones along the way. You were part of the Fedor versus Bader card, Pitbull versus Chandler. Lima knocked out MVP on that card. Where does this main event compare to the others? Because this is a damn good fight.
Man, I'm so excited to see Phenom go in there. I love Mousasi, but ever since my second fight, I've had a connection with Douglas. I feel like we're almost on the same team with each other. And so it's really cool to see his success and see like his worldwide acceptance of how good he really is. It's going to be a monster fight. I can already hear the leg kicks booming. I've seen him all week. I haven't really talked to him. He looks focused. He looks so huge for 170. So it's awesome.
Before that happens, you are in the featured prelim. You got your own fight with Brandon Calton. Do we have a official Jake Hager prediction here?
Well, every time I go and fight MMA, I have to promise Tony Khan that I'm going to win. Like verbally, I have to tell him. So I'm going to win. That's my prediction.
Fair enough. Before we let you go, there is something I did want to ask you about from the wrestling world, like because AEW is definitely doing things much differently than WWE and NXT, and we saw it on. They're gone on tonight, but last week's show, we saw Chris Jericho and MJF. They broke into song. And by the way, MJF's got some chops for sure. But there's always this like sort of battle between like today's wrestling fan. And then there's like the traditionalists out there, like a Jim Cornette that sort of like poo-poo what AEW is trying to do. How do you sort of handle it? Like, I'm sure at the end of the day, you don't really care, but how do you react when some of like the old school pundits of the sport just aren't picking up what you guys are putting down?
Yeah, I don't care. I don't know who elected Jim Cornette official of anything. I'm glad that we have such a strong following and that people are so passionate about our business. And in the end, this is art, and art is always left up to interpretation. So that's what it's there for. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you do like it, that's fine. The main thing is we like it. We're proud of it. And I am so proud of the work that AEW put out through the pandemic, because I feel like having that unknown with the audience really kind of kept them on their toes, and it made storylines a little bit more believable, a little more suspenseful, and it allowed us to do different things like Late Dinner Debonair. It allows us to do the Stadium Stampede, and it's really cool because pro wrestling, it's a world of possibilities. How creative do you want to be? And so, like, why be limited into this little box when you can do so much more? If you have disbelief suspended, then go for it, because in the end, it's all entertainment. It's all show business. And Jim Cornette is not tough.
Do you see yourself maybe getting in on something like that? Like a little outside of the comfort zone, a little outside of the box, like maybe not singing and dancing, but I mean, I bet you do have some chops yourself, Jake, that we haven't seen yet.
Well, MJF, he's a little known fact, but MJF, he was a child prodigy. He was one of those like young kids that went on Ellen, dancing and performing. And so he's very talented. I 100% would be honored to be a part of anything like that. I think it's groundbreaking, and I think you will see a sing and dance almost every month in wrestling storylines now too, because, well, maybe not every month because not everyone can pull it off, but it is something that is going to be copied because everybody gets tired of two people just standing in front of each other, tough talking each other. Like, we've seen it, we've done it. Let's see if there's something else there. And who better to do that than Chris Jericho, the one top guy that has changed professional wrestling.
30 years, man. That is just so wild to think about, right? I mean, just watching this guy's career from Mexico, Japan, WCW, WWE, and now in AEW. I mean, it's just wild. Like, is this like I mean, people always talk about Rock and Austin and Hogan and like the runs they had, but is this like the best run in professional wrestling history? What Chris Jericho has been able to do at this level for so long?
It's hard to, clarify the best. I think it's the best, but I think it's what isn't hard to clarify is impactful. You look at the impact of what Jericho did when him and Kenny started tweeting each other back in 2017. They had the entire internet worked that they didn't like each other, and that this was a match that was brought out of an argument online, and and we've just continued on that same pattern with AEW. They don't waste anything. They use everything. That's why our characters seem fresher. That's why our storylines are more, they grab you more. And it's really cool to see the finished product.
Absolutely. Jake, I appreciate the time as always. I could pick your brain for another hour easily, but you got a fight to get ready for tomorrow as we record. Mohegan Sun Arena, Uncasville, Connecticut, Bellator 250 against Brandon Calton. All the best to you, Jake. Great catching up with you, man.
All right. Thank you, man.